Many people doubt Meghan has long been a mother. Following her attendance at Northwestern University, Meghan began dating Joe Giuliano, and the couple got married after having a child when Meghan was almost 20.
Holy shit. He said what?
You know, I think as she told it, she approached me.
According to reports, Noelle was born in or around 1999, which fits the timeline perfectly.
Joshua Silverstein was her very first boyfriend. They were both only 13.
Given her appearance, Noelle does share some similarities with Joe and Meghan, and she's even more like Meghan.
What?
What if everything people think they know about her story is missing one massive, unbelievable piece? The kind that flips the whole narrative upside down. Meghan Markle built this image of being the royal family's outsider, the one who broke the mold. But now there's talk online that she may have been hiding something way bigger than anyone expected, like a secret daughter kept out of sight for decades.
Meghan was researching the prince online and found out that the prince is now duped, so I can now go ahead and marry him. At that stage, Meghan contacted Joe, told him that, look, if you open your mouth, I'm gonna sue you.
People aren't just whispering about a few hidden mistakes anymore. They're saying her past looks way more complicated than what's been shown, almost like there's a whole chapter nobody was supposed to read. And while she's been opening up in interviews about finding her voice and feeling shut down, critics are firing back, asking where that same honesty was during those rumored moments in Vegas, allegedly tied to quiet legal moves that never made headlines. If her life played out like a drama series, it wouldn't even need new material. Same patterns, different headlines every single year. A new leak drops, another controversy pops up, and suddenly everyone's pulled right back into the chaos. But this time, it's not about royal titles or who wore what. It's about claims of a child that was never meant to be part of the public story.
Remember when she was born, big new addition to the family, and we just have a very young sister here.
Thomas Jr. was 14 when Meghan came into the world.
The official version says she took time off after high school to find herself. Sounds simple enough, right? Traveling, growing, figuring life out. But online chatter tells a completely different story. Instead of exploring Europe, some claim she was walking down the aisle saying "I do" to Joe Giuliano. And not long after, rumors started swirling about a baby girl. And the wildest part, some even question whether Prince Harry ever knew anything about it.
I just made a little mark on my board and said, oh, there's another lie, click.
Here's where things really start to raise eyebrows. That gap year story has gaps of its own, big ones. After graduating in 1994, it said she took time off before college, but there's barely anything to back it up. No clear records, no travel proof, no photos, no people stepping forward with shared memories. Just her version of events, standing alone while critics keep poking holes in it. And instead of a carefree trip across Europe, some rumors push a much more dramatic angle, that she was in Las Vegas, quietly getting married to her teenage boyfriend. It sounds extreme, but to some watchers, it oddly fits the kind of twist they believe have followed her story all along. A whole year gone, and the explanation barely holds together. That gap year story starts to feel less like peaceful self-discovery and more like something carefully managed behind the scenes.
Clear to me at the time that, we were together, I would say. Yeah, she had a very clear idea of where she wanted her path to take.
People online aren't buying the simple version anymore. They're asking what really happened during those missing 12 months. Because if the rumors floating around are even close to true, then it wasn't just a break from school. It was something way bigger, way harder to explain away. Almost like an entire hidden chapter got pushed out of sight. And this is where things take a sharp turn into even stranger territory. Las Vegas, the city where impulsive moments turn into permanent records under bright lights and quick decisions. According to speculation, Meghan Markle wasn't there for fun or sightseeing. Instead, some claim she was stepping into a quick, low-key wedding with Joe Giuliano, someone from her teenage years.
At the time, that we were together, it's what kids did, right? So she told her friends she liked me, I told my friends I liked her, and then our friends met, and then they kind of arranged it, and then we became girlfriend and boyfriend.
No big ceremony, no royal setting, just a simple courthouse, a couple of witnesses, and a fast "I do." It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't public, and it definitely didn't match the polished image people would later see. And just as fast as it started, it was over. The marriage reportedly ended within months, wrapped up almost as quickly as it began. But here's the part that really gets people talking. The annulment records, sealed, completely locked away in a place known for keeping even the wildest stories accessible. That's what raises eyebrows, because Vegas isn't exactly known for hiding paperwork unless there's a serious reason behind it. So naturally, questions start building. What could have been in those documents that made them off limits? Some believe it wasn't about privacy at all, but about protecting a future image that hadn't even been built yet. because if those details ever came out, they could clash hard with the carefully shaped public story that followed years later. And then the rumors go even further, beyond the wedding, beyond the sealed records, into something much more personal. There's talk that during that same period, she may have been dealing with a pregnancy. While the official version paints a picture of freedom and travel, the alternative version being shared online describes a completely different reality unfolding behind closed doors. By around 1995, the claims suggest there may have been a child, a daughter, quietly kept out of public view. No announcements, no acknowledgement, nothing that would tie into the narrative people were given later on. Just silence, where a major life event would normally be impossible to hide. And according to those same rumors, the child was raised privately by the Giuliano family, completely separate from Meghan's public life. No spotlight, no connection made visible, like that entire situation was erased before the world ever had a chance to notice it.
Wiped out all kind of pictures, communications with Joe.
It follows a pattern that people can't ignore anymore. The constant reset, the image switch-ups, the clean slate every time something inconvenient shows up. One phase ends, and suddenly there's a brand new version presented like nothing came before it. At one point, she's trying to make it in Hollywood. Then suddenly she's stepping into a completely different world with a polished, refined image. And according to online speculation, anything that didn't fit that new narrative may have quietly disappeared along the way. A past relationship? Gone? Complicated history? Nowhere to be found? Some rumors even claim that while she moved forward, others stayed behind to deal with what was left. The Giuliano family is often described as private and traditional, focused on stability and keeping things contained. Meanwhile, Meghan's path is painted by critics as forward-moving, always chasing the next opportunity, no matter what had to be left out of the story. The theory goes that an understanding was reached. One side would handle the responsibility, while the other stepped into a completely new life.
Right now we're in Beverly Hills, and we're gonna pass the Beverly Hilton Hotel, where I'll be on Sunday meeting the other North.
No public records, no official acknowledgement, nothing tying the two sides together. Just a quiet separation that, if true, would raise serious questions today. And that's why people say this situation feels consistent with a bigger pattern they believe they see. Relationships fade, connections break, and entire chapters seem to vanish without explanation. Critics argue that once something no longer fits the direction, it gets left behind and erased from the narrative. Meanwhile, according to these claims, the Giuliano family carried on privately, raising a child far from any spotlight, while Meghan continued building her future, presenting a story that appeared smooth and uninterrupted. But as more attention lands on the past, those quiet details are being pulled back into the conversation. Because secrets, real or rumored, have a way of resurfacing, especially when there are unanswered questions tied to them. And this particular story, if it had any truth to it, could challenge the carefully maintained image people have been shown over the years. And then there's the Vegas angle again. What started as a quick, low-profile situation now feels far more serious to those following the story. A short-lived teenage marriage might not seem shocking on its own, but sealed records in a place known for openness, that's the detail that keeps people talking and digging for more. A sealed annulment in a place like Vegas, that's the detail that really sets people off. Because let's be real, records don't just get locked away for no reason. When something is sealed that tightly, it usually means there's more to the story than what's being shown on the surface. So naturally, the questions start stacking up. What exactly was in those documents that couldn't be seen? Was there something about her past that didn't match the image presented later on? Or is this just another case of rumors growing bigger without solid proof? Some online theories push it even further, suggesting that the timeline doesn't fully add up. They point to the possibility that the annulment wasn't just about ending a short marriage, but tied to something more complicated happening at the same time. It's all speculation, but it keeps people digging. What makes this even more talked about is how different it feels compared to the public image built over the years. Her story has often focused on honesty, growth, and sharing personal struggles.
Hi, Daddy. I got an English award.
But critics argue that if there really are missing pieces, then this would be the one chapter that explains everything. Yet it's also the one that seems the hardest to verify. And that contrast is what keeps the conversation alive. The more emphasis placed on openness, the more attention shifts back to the parts that remain unclear. It creates this tension where people feel like there's a gap between the story told and the one being questioned. By the time she arrived at Northwestern, everything appeared completely reset. Clean image, confident presence, no visible ties to anything controversial. It was like stepping into a brand new version, with no signs of what may have come before.
And she loved me. I'm a hero. And suddenly I was thrown out.
Critics describe it less as a natural, fresh start, and more like a full reset button being hit. No mention of past relationships, no trace of earlier complications, just a focused path forward. Whether that was intentional or simply how things unfolded is still debated, but the shift is hard to ignore. And that's why this part of the story keeps resurfacing. Some believe it was a strategic move to move ahead without distractions, while others see it as a major gap that raises more questions than answers. Either way, the contrast between the past being discussed online and the image presented later continues to keep people watching closely. Everyone around her seemed to accept the transformation without digging deeper. Professors, classmates, even people in the industry. No one stopped to question what might have been left behind to make that new image work so smoothly. Critics online claim her rise wasn't just about talent or timing, but about carefully reshaping the story piece by piece. They argue that over time, the narrative became so polished that anything messy or complicated simply disappeared from view. But when something is built like that, people say it only takes one crack for everything underneath to start showing. Because no matter how clean things look on the surface, unanswered questions don't just vanish. They sit there, waiting, and eventually they start slipping out in small ways. In this case, people point to comments and quiet remarks from those loosely connected to the past, especially individuals rumored to know the Giuliano family. Over the years, bits and pieces have reportedly surfaced. Nothing loud, nothing fully confirmed, but always similar. That's what keeps the conversation alive. Different voices, different moments, yet the same claims keep repeating. A young relationship, a quick marriage, something hidden, and records that no one can access. And when the same story keeps appearing from different directions, people start to see it less as random talk and more as a pattern. That doesn't prove anything on its own, but it definitely keeps the spotlight on those unanswered parts of the timeline. What makes it harder to control is that memories and rumors don't follow rules. People can move on, cut ties, or leave situations behind, but what others remember or say doesn't disappear so easily. And as her public profile grew, so did the attention on everything connected to her past. Every time she speaks publicly about her journey, it seems to spark even more curiosity about the parts that aren't discussed. That contrast keeps pulling people back in, searching for details that haven't been clearly addressed. And now, the timeline itself becomes part of the conversation. Because if the rumors being shared online had any basis, then this wouldn't just be a distant story anymore. It would connect directly to the present, making the questions feel more immediate than ever. If even a fraction of these rumors ever turned out to be true, this wouldn't just shake things up. It would flip the entire narrative on its head instantly. We're talking about a situation that could rewrite everything people think they know. Picture how fast it could unfold. One interview, one solid confirmation, one moment that can't be ignored, and suddenly the story changes direction completely. The same narrative that's been built over the years would come under serious pressure, with people questioning every piece of it. Her public image has always leaned on telling her side, speaking openly, and controlling how her story is seen. That's exactly why this topic keeps getting attention, because critics keep asking the same thing. What if there's more that hasn't been said? And this is where things get even more intense. If someone connected to these long-running claims ever decided to step forward publicly, it wouldn't just be another trending topic. It would dominate everything. Not a small controversy, but something that pulls all eyes in one direction at once. For years, this part of the timeline has stayed in the shadows, almost like it's been locked away alongside those sealed records. But time doesn't freeze. People grow, situations change, and things that stayed quiet don't always stay that way forever. What keeps people hooked is how the pieces don't fully line up. A missing stretch of time, a short-lived marriage with limited details, and the same claims popping up again and again. Nothing confirmed, but nothing fading either. No matter how carefully someone shapes their public image, unanswered questions always pull attention, especially when the spotlight is this big and the curiosity keeps building. And that's why this story keeps coming back around. Not because everything is proven, but because it isn't. The gaps, the whispers, the missing pieces, they keep people watching, waiting, and questioning what might come out next. If you want more breakdowns like this and real-time deep dives into stories everyone's talking about, hit subscribe and stay locked in, because this conversation is far from over.